Every year, almost 50 million tonnes of electronic waste is generated worldwide, and the independent documentary filmmaker David Fidel in 2012 wanted to show the devastating effects of this through his visual portrait E-Wasteland. This particular film, like others of his, concentrate on the underdeveloped countries within our world today. This one particularly focuses on the West African city, Ghana. This 20-minute simple observational piece opens a window into a portion of real life that many of us may not have known existed before watching. Throughout this presentation, the aim will be to acknowledge the observational mode, to analyse its content, and how this distinct style has created a unique form in which David Fidel conveys specific social messages to his audience. E-Wasteland positions well within the observational mode, as we see many claims that support the traditional documentary filmmaking conventions. This fly-on-the-wall approach confirms the idea that along with the audience, the director is also an observer. According to Bill Nichols, it therefore leaves the viewer to take an active role in determining the significance of what could be seen on screen. E-Wasteland is a composition of shots where the social actors are going about their jobs confined in a toxic and hazardous environment. The observatory mode can be explored deeper when looking at its creation back in the 1960s post-World War II. Stella Breezy stated that the 1960s was very much the era of observational documentary, focusing on the present and on actions that were unfolding contemporaneously with the filmmaking process. This new lightweight handheld camera and outbreak of television technology after World War II forced the documentary filmmakers into the forefront of the media, and people relied on this medium for factual and sometimes historical content. By using a handheld camera with no effects, Fidel's aim was to capture a raw living experience, and the observational mode complemented this perfectly. For an observational film, it's easier to characterise the mode by the aspects that have been omitted from the final edit rather than the things that were chosen to be included. Director Fidel chose to have no narration, only diegetic sounds, and the simple, intimate shots of the people's lives he chose to follow. In contemporary society, these technological advances were not the mean for these choices, so it begs the question if Fidel wanted his viewers to come up with their own conclusions. This objectivity or transparency is one of the major rules that the observational mode follows. An example of another classical observational director is Frederick Wiseman. Coinciding with Fidel, they both decide to show the hypocrisy of a supposed glamorous life industry. See the slide for links to examples of Wiseman's direct cinema or observational work. When looking at the content of an observational film, the main purpose is to learn through what we hear and on what we observe on screen. This approach concentrates on the unique space in which the filmmaker records the truthful events taking place at that very moment in time. A rule from the traditional observational method is the fact that the filmmaker's engagement in observing the circumstances of their social actors is done with an unobtrusive camera, and this particular filming method is said to get straight to the truth of the story. Based around the unknown and illegal world of electronic waste being sent to underdeveloped countries, this story is a strong use of propaganda on heavy environmental and social topics. E-Wasteland has a mixture of both direct cinema and cinema verite qualities. Fidel's other documentaries usually include more direct cinema components, like interviews and showing the relationships between the people on screen and the conflict with their environment. His usual choice of shots and narration in the final edit gives an explicit bias to how he wants his audience to reflect on the information provided. Because of this simplistic and quiet nature of E-Wasteland, the essence of realism and capturing the moment and objective meaning are more from the cinema verite submode. Fidel said in an interview to the Manga Bay organisation, "I wanted to visually present a particular environment and attempt to show it as truthfully as possible and give the people responsibility to think about the issue themselves. I believe that images can be far more powerful than words and can have much bigger impact and remain in your memory longer." Looking at the collection of David's work as a whole, there are different social topics covered, but we see the distinct style that he practices throughout. style of a documentary is dependent on the filmmaker uniquely bringing together the mood and content that the story is about. Fidel has become known for his hard-hitting social topics and how he watches the world in such a simplistic way. He produced, directed, filmed and edited E-Waste, and since its creation, this piece of work has been a winner of numerous major documentary awards around the globe. As a contemporary Australian filmmaker, David believes it is a duty and passion of his to show the world from perspectives that may not be common knowledge. From Canada's Environmental Voice website, Seminai Pathavira reviews that this powerful observational style allows David to peer into this post-apocalyptic environment and collect images of a brutal reality that these people face every day just to survive. His guerrilla and low-profile style has become unique and captivating to his audiences, conveying a real sense of truth and trust. Long shots, quiet atmosphere, and seamlessly placed simple titles give us the context of the environment as the story unfolds through the smashing and breaking of electronic waste. Fidel said, "I've seen a number of journalist documentaries that focus on the people working with e-waste and portrayed them as victims. Using poor interviews and voiceovers, I was extremely cautious that I didn't want to do this. I wanted to visually present a particular environment and attempt to show it as truthfully as possible and give people the responsibility to think about the issue themselves." As a filmmaker, David Fidel puts himself out there in terms of low budget but highly impactful outcomes. Combining the observational mode, influential content matter, and his independent style, E-Wasteland has fit comfortably within David's exclusive documentary catalogue to date. His unique form is a combination of all aspects just mentioned. The traditional observational technique of one handheld camera, the minimalistic and objective documentary content, and his simplistic but intimate truth-telling style has generated the form in which he has become renowned for around the world. His creations leave audiences wanting to make a change for the better. A contemporary documentary filmmaker, David Fidel, still challenges the perceptions of critics, and E-Wasteland is a brilliant example showcasing his form and storytelling skills.